one of the first orders of business for you in the Senate will be to review Donald Trump's cabinet picks. Share your predictions on how you feel that process will play out in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, well, look, I hope it's done with a lot of rigor. You know, this is important. These are going to be people that are leading, major departments and agencies at a time of just great distrust in government right now. A lot of challenges that people are facing. So this being my first time going through that nomination process, I'm really trying to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence. That I'm really trying to think through who are people that I can work with, people that I can have faith and trust in. And I say that as someone who worked in the executive branch. I worked under President George W. Bush as well as Barack Obama. I served as a career public servant, so I've worked under both Republicans and Democratic administrations. It's about just finding people that are willing to engage. And so far, I've had a couple meetings with some of the nominees, and some of them are people that I think I might be able to work with. Others I got more questions for, and that's what we're going to have to get some answers to.
Mike Johnson says he's optimistic he can push the GOP agenda despite the slim razor-type majority. Do you share that optimism?
Absolutely. Look, the American people elected a House Republican majority, a Senate Republican majority, and President Trump to the White House. And we have a lot of work ahead of us, from the affordability crisis to the border crisis to the international crises. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to be able to get about the work of the American people and pass critical legislation to better improve their lives, their cost of living, secure the border, et cetera. It's going to be a lot of work. We have a lot of work ahead of us, especially once President Trump gets sworn in. But I'm confident that we will be able to get it across the finish line.
First Latina to represent New Jersey ever in Congress? Yes. The whole state, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
You downplayed it.
I'm so true. No, absolutely. So indeed, I'm the first Latina ever in the state of New Jersey to represent, to be in Congress.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Hispanic representation is decreasing slightly this year in the House. Yes. What do you make of that?
So first of all, let me just say that's disheartening to me, because at a time when we really need the voices of so many different diverse voices, let me just say, and the perspective of so many different people at this time in our nation, I think it's really concerning to me and sad that is happening. But it also gives me even a more greater responsibility of making sure that that I use my voice to uplift my community and all the communities that I represent, but certainly the voices of Latino as well.
For the first time in nearly 5 decades, there's going to be less female lawmakers in Congress. Not only less women serving, but the House Republicans have tapped all men to chair their committees. Would you like to see more women in the Republican conference?
Well, obviously, we'd always love to see more women, but we've done an amazing job electing quality women over the last few years. I was part of one of the largest classes of Republican women that have come into Congress in 2021, and we're going to continue to build on that dynamic. I think it's incredibly important that women have a seat at the table. And yes, I'd love to see more women in leadership positions, in roles as chairs. This year that did not happen, unfortunately, but we also need more women to step up and be willing to run for those positions, and I'm hopeful that will happen in the future.
I think there's a ton of opportunities for bipartisanship. I haven't read that op-ed yet, but I definitely agree with the principle that we should stop thinking about this place in terms of Democrats and Republicans and start thinking about it in terms of what's a good idea and does it help my district. And so with the incoming Trump administration, I think there's a lot of opportunities where I'll be able to work with them on things like securing the border. If they were serious about cutting taxes for the middle class during the campaign, ending the tax on tipped wages, for example, cutting taxes for seniors who are on Social Security, those are things I would want to work with the administration on. The incoming president has talked a lot about how bad trade deals have decimated a lot of communities across this country. I believe that's right, and if he wants to renegotiate a lot of these bad trade deals, I'll be able to work with him on that. On the other hand, if he has policies that are just giving more tax cuts to billionaires and to corporations shipping jobs overseas, I'm going to oppose that.
What are your top legislative priorities that you think will most impact us back at home in New York?
Look, for 2025, the focus is largely going to be on the tax bill. So we need to end SALT to bring tax relief to homeowners, property owners in New York. We need to expand the child tax credit so that we're providing a basic income to the most vulnerable New Yorkers, the most vulnerable Americans. I have legislation that would establish safety standards for the manufacturing of lithium-ion batteries, because poorly manufactured lithium-ion batteries have been the leading cause of fires in New York City. So I want to deliver a win on fire safety. So I think reducing poverty, bringing tax relief to homeowners, and fire safety are going to be among my highest priorities.
Talk to me about some of your legislative priorities and what you think will most impact us back at home in the 16th.
Well, I think a lot of the things that we heard during the campaign, affordability in general, affordable housing certainly as a very specific area. What we've done in the county was significant working with the state, but the federal role is even more significant than that. Environmental priorities, Long Island Sound, the Hudson River are both part of this district's area, and that's important. We deal with the infrastructure flooding, and as much as a county and a town and a state can contribute to fixing that problem, the federal involvement is significant. We have a major project in Mamaroneck that's been around for 15 years that hasn't come to fruition. The county put in its 17 million, the state's ponied up, and now the feds have to, so that becomes a priority.
Talk to me about what this moment means from your perspective and what this day has been like.
It's exciting. We were in DC years ago, but for a totally different reason. We both worked in the hospitality industry. And it's like, oh wow, this is such a historic place, and I love history anyway, but never dreamed that we would be here. So this is really exciting.
Tell me about your legislative priorities, what shifts we could see on the legislative front now.
I think right now the top fight in this Congress is going to be to get SALT back, the state and local tax deduction, and get tax cuts for families in Jersey. That's going to be this year, this Congress, the big fight. You'll see it happen right away. And for me, it's all about getting taxes down, increasing the SALT deduction for families in Jersey and New York and obviously the tri-state area, and helping out folks, right now make life more affordable for them, which is also why I think you could see, as part of that expansion and fight for the child tax credit, to make child care more affordable, help people with those costs, stuff on utility bills to get utility prices down, right? We just need to make life more affordable for folks, and that's been my big focus always and my focus now.
So talk to me about your policy priorities for the 119th Congress.
Yeah, well, even though this has a first day of school feel to it, and everybody's sort of feeling good, wearing the new clothes, expecting to meet the new teachers, those of us who are in the Democratic Party, of course, we're in the minority, so we're not driving the agenda. The American people, in their wisdom, saw fit to give control to the other side. Now, what I always remember is that it is my job to advance the interests of my constituents. So, as I always have, I'm going to be working with the Republican majority in those areas where I think we can make progress. And given where I come from, number one area is probably making sure that we move infrastructure projects really quickly. We need to rebuild bridges, we need to rebuild train stations and everything else, and it has to happen a lot faster than it's happening right now. I'm going to work with the Republicans to help make that happen.
Less women, not only less women serving in the House this session, but Republicans choosing an all-male cast to chair their committees. Thoughts on that?
I remember in my first race, it was the 2018 cycle, and I was speaking to somebody about my race, and I said, look, it's the year of the woman. We're going to get women into the House. It is going to be a seismic change for the House of Representatives. And she said, Mickie, this isn't the first year of the woman. And she said, we thought we were building something in the wake of the Anita Hill hearings. And we did for a cycle, and then we lost it. And I've been watching with a great deal of concern, because the women who came in 2018, many of us came in these tough districts, and were able to do so because, in large part, people did not see those districts as winnable. So we were able to build this coalition of people, win tough races, but those are hard seats to hold. Many of the women who came in weren't deeply entrenched in the state politics, so faced greater hardship in redistricting. And we've seen across the nation, it is hard to hold on to these seats sometimes, and we need to put more effort into it, especially as we see it's simply not building broad coalitions of people to move the country forward, as you see, is not a Republican agenda. So I think we as Democrats need to make sure that we are building a place for everyone. And I can tell you, it makes a difference when you're looking at getting a year-long contraception prescription for women in the military instead of just 3 months. I can tell you that is something that, my male colleagues are fine with. I'm not sure they understand what a mess it is if you're on a 6-month deployment and your contraception runs out, that kind of thing. So these are issues that I think it really helps to have women at the table. Moms of school-age kids, I mean, what this country went through during COVID, unless you had school-age kids, I don't know that you quite understand the damage it's done to some of our children and what we are doing and what we need to do to make sure that they are on track, that they are feeling healthy, that they are feeling confident. That's something that we really need moms in the house for. And we're just seeing these rollbacks, which I think we need to maybe push in here a little bit harder to make sure that we have a government that represents all the people.